Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm Nick, and today I'm starting my reviews for the People series, where I let fellow YouTubers and some of my main subscribers to choose movies from my own physical media collection for me to review. And the first movie I'm going to be diving into is Christine from 1983, and this was chosen by BaconPewPew, a fellow YouTuber and great friend of mine. Bacon is an up-and-coming YouTuber with great movie content over on his channel, especially for the horror genre. He got some great top 10s, ranking videos, movie reviews, collection videos, you name it, he does it. So make sure to go on over to his channel and give him a sub. And without wasting any more time, let's dive into this review. So Christine was released in 1983. It stars Keith Gordon, John Stockwell, Alexandra Paul, and Robert Prosky, and was directed by John Carpenter. So the story to this one, guys, is basically about this kid named Arnie, who is a nerdy high schooler. He goes out and buys this old rundown beater named Christine. It's his very first car, and he gets super attached with it. Like, he falls in love with this car. And he does not know at first that this car has supernatural abilities and is quite evil. And Arnie's relationship with his car gets so bad to the point where he becomes a complete asshole towards all of his friends and family, disrespecting them, and allows his car to go on a killing spree. Now, to me, guys, this movie is a classic in every way, shape, and form. I used to own this on VHS back in the day. Used to watch it all the time, and it's a timeless classic to me. It's actually a very simple story, but its execution is near perfection to me. And of course, we got John Carpenter as the director of this one, and his style and visions just really shine right through this film. And of course, this is a Stephen King adaptation, but I still feel like John Carpenter really made this his own. And another big part of this movie's success is in its characters, the way they were written and performed. The performances are out of this world. Great performances all around from every character in this film. But yeah, the characters are written so nicely and they're all well-rounded. We got Arnie, our main character in this, and he is set up as such a likable character when this movie begins. He's this dorky virgin who gets bullied all the time at high school. And I just want to add, out of all the bullies, the main one named Buddy looks to be about 35 years old. Like, what the hell is he still doing in this high school? Like, there's no reason for it. But I guess that happens a lot with these older films. So right away, they make Arnie such a likable character. They kind of set him up as the underdog. You really want him to succeed. And then he meets Christine. He buys Christine. She's all beat up. He fixes her up. And this is really where the character starts to shift slowly. He starts to make that descent into madness and just becomes a complete idiot. For me, the big turning point in this movie is when he gets in an argument with his parents and he starts calling down his mom and his dad like starts pushing him around and say, yeah, you listen to what we say. And then he turns around and grabs the dad by the throat and you're like, oh shit, like he ain't taking shit from nobody no more. He is not the nerdy dork that we knew from the first of this film. He's kind of long gone by this point. And like I said, since he was so likable before, I feel like it makes the transition into being this bad guy so much more powerful and impactful. And it basically gets to the point where he's like even dressing up almost like a greaser. Like he's becoming like this punk ass greaser that's in love with his car, which is also from the late 50s, which would really go with his look now. So I thought that was really cool how they even made not only his attitude, but the look change too. And some of our side characters here are great as well. We got Dennis, which is Arnie's best friend at the starting of this film. And as the film progresses, they kind of start falling apart from each other. He could have been set up as just your typical jock that hangs out with the nerd. But I feel like as the movie goes on, it really fleshes out the Dennis character. I'm like, he's so much more than just your throwaway side character. There's a lot more to him. And same for Lee, the pretty new girl at school that starts to go on a date with Arnie when everybody in the school wants to get with her. But she ends up going with the nerd in school, the virgin that no one would thought that she would go for. But since he's transitioning into the kind of this bad boy, she starts going with him for a while until she starts to see how crazy he's becoming over his car. And this Lee character, she really reminds me of Heather Langenkamp for some reason from Nightmare on Elm Street. She plays Nancy. Like, It's not so much the character herself, it's more the looks and just her facial expressions and mannerisms. And of course, we got Darnell. He's a hilarious side character who runs a garage where Arnie's able to keep his vehicle and work on it. Yeah, and this guy's dialogue just really cracks me up. He's always swearing, always complaining, and giving Arnie shit for like the dumbest shit. And like he says, there's no smoking in here, but yet his buddies are playing poker, smoking behind him. And he's like, you trying to talk smart to me? Like, just the way he talks. Or how he tells Arnie he doesn't look like he has a lot of money, but the way he says it's like, you don't exactly look like you got money falling out of your asshole. And I just love his dialogue lines. And of course, lastly, we got Christine herself. She's a 1958 Plymouth Fury. And one of the big differences between the book and the movie is that Christine, in the movie, when she was made and created in the factory, she was evil from the get-go. Like, she's killing people in the factory and causing other accidents to the Chrysler employees. While the book, it was more of a possession movie. Like, the guy who owned Christine before was a real asshole. He was super violent in that. And it's pretty much as if he possessed the car after he killed himself in it. And this is one switch I actually really like that they changed it for the movie. Because if you would know that this guy was possessing the car, it wouldn't feel right with the whole love relationship with Arnie and Christine, right? Because Christine's even like the girl's name of the car, right? So I just feel like it works a lot better with it just being evil on its own, and it really keeps things more mysterious and ominous. After Arnie shines her up and gives her all new parts, and that the car is just as attached with Arnie as Arnie is with the car. Like, they're inseparable at this time. They're both getting jealous of their own friends. Like, Arnie doesn't want his parents talking bad about it or anybody. While the car, if anybody messes with Arnie, the car will go for revenge after them. Or even if he gets another girlfriend, like a real girl, like Lee in the film, the car gets jealous and will try to kill the girl or at least freak her out enough to leave them. See, since Christine is a female, she gets jealous just like all the other women in real life. So I really like how they tied that in there. It really makes the relationship between Arnie and her really stand out more. And it just pretty much gets to the point where Christine's pure evil, and it seems to be really wearing off on Arnie throughout this film the more they spend time together. I mean, there's just so many different themes and like metaphors in that you could give with this film. I mean, one being toxic relationships. Like in real life, take out the car out of the equation, you get a guy and a girl, and if one's toxic towards the other, it could really ruin their whole life, whether it be like with their family and their friends, and it could really cause that one partner to really change for the worse, not for the better. I mean, you can get other relationships where one partner changes the other in a good way. It's like, yeah, they got them to stop drinking or they got them to do whatever. But this is not the case. This is Christine pretty much making Arnie a bad guy. I mean, it's also a coming of age film. We get to see Arnie going through that transition of high school and, losing friends, gaining new friends, relationships. That all comes with being a late teen and growing up, becoming an adult. And I think they deal with a lot of those themes in here as well. And other aspects of this film I really enjoy are the effects, especially when the bullies come into the garage and they smash Christine up the hell. They just completely destroy her. They even shit on the hood. And you get to see Christine fix herself. She uses her supernatural abilities and she like unbends her metal and comes back out to normal shape. And the way they did this was when they destroyed the car, they put that footage in reverse and it looks like the car is like building itself, which is really cool. And it looks way more cooler than I think it should have. And she's basically repairing herself with the power of love. Since Arnie's shown her love back, it seems like her powers grow and she becomes more powerful. And once the bullies go in and destroy the hell out of Christine and she fixes herself back up, then she goes on a revenge spree to kill all these bullies, pick them off one by one. Now this is a really interesting part of the movie because while it's going off and finding them and running them over and shit, all the windows are tinted in the car. And this is the only time in the film really when you notice this. The rest of the movie you could see through the windshield and that. But they did this so we wouldn't know if it's really Arnie driving or is it just the car going out on its own. And I love that mystery to it. There's really only one kill, like when the car is completely on fire, chasing down the main bully Buddy on the road. I was like, that's probably just Christine, because Arnie would have burnt up to a crisp. But there's other times where you're really not sure, is this just Christine or is Arnie in there going on a killing spree as well? And I just love that whole mystery behind it. And the kill in the alley, there's an alley kill where the alley's getting smaller and the car can't fit, but it starts like smashing and crushing itself to get in there after a guy. I'm like, man, that looks so cool. A lot of these kills are cheesy too, like because like they're kind of not lame, but I just want to say they're avoidable. Because like say that back alley kill, all the guy had to do was jump up on the hood and go over the roof. And yeah, that's basically the only kind of negatives I could give to this film, is that the kills could probably be avoided, but they look so damn cool regardless, with the effects of the bending metal or being completely on fire after that guy, that it really doesn't bother me. It kind of is like, whatever, we got such a fun, cool style in kills that it doesn't bother me. And I mean, we can't talk about this film without mentioning its badass soundtrack. Now, when we're in the present, in regular cars, like late 70s style cars, because this takes place in 1978, we get a couple cool tunes from the time, late 70s rock and that playing. But for the most part, we're hearing the music coming from Christine, which is still from the late 1950s, which I thought was really cool. And it's not just the music, it's the meaning behind the music. They always go with the scene that they're doing. Like there's a whole part where people's trying to get in the car and the radio comes on and says, "You keep on knocking but you can't come in." And I'm like, damn, that works so well with the scene. Or like when Christine and Arnie are having a moment, it starts playing like "I love you" on the radio. And I think that just works so well for those moments. And on top of the soundtrack, of course, we got Carpenter directing this film. So of course he did the score as well. We get this cool little synth score at times, which doesn't play out a lot in the film, but when it does sound really cool. But goddamn, you gotta love that soundtrack. Of course, we got this big epic finale at Darnell's garage where they try to lure Christine in there to destroy her with a bulldozer. Of course, Lee and Dennis are behind it, trying to destroy it so they can get their friend back. Unfortunately, in the process, they lose Arnie as well. He ends up going through the windshield. He was in the car this time, and ultimately killing himself by getting glass through his stomach or chest or whatever. Which is ironic. It's like he pretty much died because of Christine, even though that was what he was fighting for. That was his love, right? Love at first sight, if you will. Because even like the first moment he sees Christine on like a side road, they're driving by, he has to stop and see it right away. Because they had a connection from the very beginning. And I really like that little piece of dialogue that Lee says to Dennis, where she's like, "Well, what if he doesn't show?" When they're waiting for them at the garage, and he turns and says, "Christine will." Like, whether or not Arnie shows up, Christine definitely will. And it ends with them with the bulldozer crushing Christine while it keeps trying to repair itself, and they just keep trying to flatten it until they eventually get it done. And yeah, it's a pretty epic little ending to this fairly simple film. And I know they're in talks to remaking this movie, which there's two ways they could do it. One way's bad, one way's good in my opinion. If they just try to completely just redo this film, the same era and everything, like have a late 70s setting about a late 50s car, I don't think it's going to work. It's going to be too much of the same, and it's definitely not going to be as good as this classic in my opinion. The only thing they could really improve on is the gore and the kills. To me, what they should do is they should go into the future, like nowadays or whatever, and have an early 2000 or late 90s car that is evil, that someone falls in love with. And then you can add in all these 90s, 2000 themes in there, and you're not directly copying and pasting this 1983 classic. And I think that's the best way to do this remake. And you just got to pick like an iconic car for the late 90s or so to do so. And I think that would work. But anyway, guys, I could talk about this classic all day long. So I'm going to go ahead and rate this bad boy. I got to give it a 9.5 out of 10. This movie is amazing and is a definite must watch to any horror fan. And personally, this is probably in my top 10 not top 10, top 5 Stephen King adaptations. It's that good. So there you have it, guys. There's my review for Christine from 1983. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below what you think of this film. Do you really like it? Do you hate it? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. And don't forget to go on over to BaconPewPew's channel and subscribe to him. Links will be in the description for his channel. Go check him out. Give him a sub. Show some love. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.